All right, let us welcome this most important guy in motion, and that guy is actually Impulse. Impulse, we welcome you. So this guy is so important. This concept of impulse is so important, and the reason is because first, let me define what impulse is so that you know how important impulse is. So impulse is actually the product of mass. Product of mass, sorry, not mass, pardon me, force, the product of force by time. So what that means is that, let's say you have a block of wood, then the block of wood is acted upon by a force of, let's say, 50 newtons. Now it's gonna take a particular time to actually react with this block. So that time that it takes to react with this block. So basically, impulse has to do with the force and the time it takes to exert that force on that body. So that means if you exert 50 newtons force on this block, it just might change the position of this block. So that impact that causes that motion, that block to actually be in motion, is what we call the impulse. So the impulse happens at that point where the force and the object actually meet, boom, at that particular time, speculated time, and it causes a motion, a change in position of that body with respect to time. That's what we mean by impulse. And so we're going to do a little calculation on impulse. All right, so let's say that you have a block of, let's say, a block of 50 newtons. Let's say 50 newtons. Let's say you have a block of wood of, let's say, 50 newtons, 50 kg. And then you are applying a force in this direction, a force of 20 newtons. And the time of impact is actually 0.1 seconds. Now the question is, what is the impulse? What is the impulse? Now remember that impulse is actually what? Impulse is force times time. Okay? So in this case, what's the force? The force is 20 newtons multiplied by 1/10. That's 0.1. Right? So we can actually just divide 10 here 1, 10 here 2. So we have our impulse to be 2. But then does impulse have a unit? Of course, most physical quantities in physics have new units. So 2. Now, to get the unit of impulse, what's the unit of force? Unit of force is actually newtons. What's the unit of time? The unit of time is actually seconds. So newtons multiplied by seconds, what you have is Newton second. So you have NS. So that's the unit of impulse is NS, Newton second. All right, good. So impulse is the product of the force applied multiplied by the time, the product of the force applied and the time of impact. That's what we call impulse.